Hmm.
Oh, let me switch. I cannot see.
Julian, how you know my name is Michelle? That's what they call me. That's it. No, Q is gonna be on tonight too. I think Manny is. I think.
Yeah, he didn't confirm. He just asked what time. I'll text him. But yeah, Q's pulling up now. Let me text Manny.
I think he's in the locker room talking with the Lakers right now, trying to give him a pep talk. I got a bad echo.
Give it some time. It got to work itself out. Zoom should eventually, hopefully, knock it out. It does that sometimes. I'm gonna turn the
Echo. They say I'm echoing bad. It's probably because I'm saying the same things over and over, like Lamelo is the greatest.
Yeah, let
Would
me
you say
turn
that?
you down. Yeah, I turned the volume down in here. So sometimes it takes a second for Zoom's auto echo cancellation thing to kick in. Okay, yeah, Manny's coming on.
Mike, check. Is it still doing it?
Let me pull up all the trades and stuff that went down. Oh man, we got any new news on Deshaun Watson?
I didn't see anything on Deshaun today,
Okay.
but maybe because I wasn't looking. I was purposefully trying to stay away from it. I think the media stayed away from it today too. Let me see.
Yeah, it's been real interesting the coverage because they've been reluctant. Yeah, I do hear echo. Um, yeah, kind of reluctant to jump onto it, but oh wow, did you see Mahomes sign a HBCU deal?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, man, I just saw it on
Oh,
Bleacher
Legacy Ball
Report.
with the Legacy Ball. Yes.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, he's working to create a postseason bowl game for HBCU draft prospects. Man, see, this the shit I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
This is the shit I'm talking about. Like, we know that the institutions have this country has been built up by slavery old institutions, and the only like there's trying to break the system down and fight for equality, which is something that we should all strive for. Um, by the way, we hope everything calms down with all the anti-Asian violence. That stuff needs to kind of cease and desist like ASAP. So we wish you guys the best. Be safe out there. But there's also building it up as well. So if they won't let you in the door, then you build your own, and that
Right.
uh, the African American community, Black people in America, have consistently been doing things such as that. And when it happens, in the past we've seen them come in and blow it up, and we have plenty of examples we can cite, Tulsa and et cetera, et cetera. Black Wall Street. But this is what I'm talking about, man. It's dope to see him, like, you know, find a way to create paths for those that go to HBCUs. We just need more of it.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, but it adds a name and notoriety to an otherwise um, under the radar movement just like the Dion thing. Dion going to Jackson State, even though it's been kind of still flying under the radar, I think going forward, eventually, that's going to kind of open some doors for some people that otherwise would not have those doors open. Once he lays, if he stays consistent and stays with it, I think it's going to help. And
Yeah.
it's bringing attention to something that should have long been had that attention because you got a lot of talent at those smaller schools. You look at Leonard from my alma mater, South Carolina State, at Indianapolis, and you got
Mm-hmm.
you got several of them. Now, the HBCU players are all up and down the board that are making big moves in the NFL and NBA as well. Um, just have to keep that movement going.
Yep. Yep. Tigolo, I wasn't playing. I'm not playing fantasy this year. I see you talking about dropping DeLon Wright. You had to drop him, but you got Halliburton, who actually had a pretty good game the other night. Yep. Aldrin Halliburton is not winning Rookie of the Year. He's playing well, but nah, bro, that's not gonna happen.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, we're still waiting on Q and Manny to show up. Damn, that's dope though. Shout out to Pat Mahomes. Mm-hmm. They say AD is still a ways away. Damn, CJ went 8 for 10, put up 21. Shit.
Mm.
Yo, everybody can hear me?
What up? What up?
Go
What up?
Q.
Yo. Audio, all right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. But,
Yeah, we just
Q,
waited.
your lighting has been on point lately. I don't know what you did different, man. Used to be in the
I got
dark.
a fucking MacBook. I got a fucking MacBook. That's what, that's what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, upgraded, man. Appreciate it, bro.
My shit
man.
dying, bro. I got to get a new one.
Yeah, I just recently got this one.
But this one's like 2013, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My iMac is 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about time.
I'm about to just look at the track and shit.
All right, so I think this is all of the trades.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, when niggas try to do that shit, bro. Like,
Dang, so the Lakers playing damn, who they playing tonight? I just saw this shit. I'm getting old, y'all. Somebody out tonight versus them. It don't matter. They're gonna lose anyway. Man, the Nets got smashed last night.
They did.
No Harden. They had nobody.
Yeah, that was a rough one, and what that was to be expected.
Yeah, when I saw the score, I was like, okay, they must have sat everybody, and they did. I was like, okay, they gassing up Utah head. Utah.
again, like I've been saying, but y'all gonna see the playoffs again. Y'all gonna see in the playoffs again. D Mitch gonna be about 11 for 38. Like, oh, Donovan Mitchell with a great dunk.
I agree.
Swear to God, that's all they do is gas it up. Like when it's like a player that they want to win, like in terms of the ratings, they need that shit. Like they need Utah to be a factor.
Well, yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get started. This is the place where sports opinions collide. Dead End Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth B. Inge. Joining me on the show, we got Shelton J.
What's good, man? What's good, everybody?
And there's no Beezy. There's no FIFO. There's also no Nick. But we have two of the best guys to fill in for them that we know. And that's out there, period. Point blank. They can be on any show you watch and kill it. Q, what up, Q?
It was good.
And Manny.
What it do? What it do? What up, everybody?
What's good? What's good?
I think this is the first time I've ever seen somebody do a podcast like out for a run.
Mobile Manny. This is Mobile Manny.
Mobile Manny.
On assignment. This is how much I ride for Dead End Sports, man. I'm on assignment right now.
Manny on the move. Go ahead. All right, let's get
They say you just ran down and talked to the Lakers and gave them a little pep talk tonight.
That's hilarious.
Manny said, "What'd you say?" No. That's Amy.
I'm actually out here playing dad, man. I'm watching the kids ride their bikes and stuff. So
That's beautiful, bro.
multitasking.
That's
good,
dope.
man.
That's
Good.
dope. All right. So anyway, as we mentioned at the close of Tuesday's show, that we will be back to discuss the moves that took place on the trade deadline. So we're gonna kind of go through some of those and talk about some of our favorite moves and our least favorite moves. And then I'll also just go through any trade that we didn't get through to see if there are any opinions. If it's irrelevant, when there were a lot of irrelevant trades, as Q said in the chat, people are just trading for the sake of trading. So, yeah.
That shit was hilarious.
Anyway, I guess I'll start out with you, Shelton, man. Like, what was your favorite move of the day?
My favorite move that I saw today was the Dallas Mavericks bringing in JJ Redick and Melly. I think that, well, it was two actually. That one, because like me and my brother was talking about earlier today, you're adding a shooter in JJ Redick to a lineup like that where he has a chance to, be playoff bound on an ascending team with a passer like Luka. It's going to open up things in the floor for him, and then you bring in another shooter, Melly. Ain't that his name? I think that's his name.
Yeah.
But you bringing in those guys, they fit right into the Dallas way. I think that those were two good trades that will help that Dallas franchise to move forward. They didn't have to give up much. They gave up James Johnson and some other player, so they didn't have to give up much to get him. So I really like that trade. And then also for Boston, I talked about it the other night. I always felt like they needed a shooter to go along with one. I thought one of those guys. I thought maybe just get rid of the other guy, but you kept both of those guys intact, and you added a shooter in Fournier to go with them. And I think that's going to help space that floor out and help those guys out a lot. So I like both those trades. Those are my favorite trades of all. And I know y'all think JJ Watt, man. I just think JJ needed a change of scenery, and he needed to be in a place where he can use his brain more so than his athletic ability, because he doesn't really have much, and he is watched if he has to do too much. But if all he got to do is sit out there and shoot, there's not a better shooter in the league.
Wes Uwundu. Who in the hell is that? I know the name. I ain't never seen him really play, but I'm on Bleacher Report, and he said, and it says that I guess somebody believes in him. I'm like, okay, he never got a lot of burn my way. But you know what, Shelton? I do agree with you on this trade. Not only from, but my take on this is that JJ just didn't fuck with Stan Van Gundy. He ain't gonna say it out loud. It may come out later on his podcast or whatever. I really don't think they got along, and I think he wanted out, and he got his chance to get out of there. I know he's been injured throughout the year, but at one point he was even out of the rotation. they weren't even playing the brother, and he was had some key moments last year when the Pelicans went on their run, and we know he shoots what 40-something% from deep, which will be a great asset for I would say for Dallas. That should I guess give Doncic some more room to operate as well if he gets healthy and able to get on the floor. So that remains to be seen. But yeah, Nicolo Melli. Every time I watch him play, he has a bad game. So so I don't know if I'm just picking the bad games or what, but it just seems like he can't ever really make a shot, and they're trying to make him into something that he may not be. But we'll see. I think at the end of the day, what this did for the Dallas Mavericks is it just really, really added to their white player roster. They have probably the whitest team in NBA. In the NBA, it's like we back in the goddamn 60s and for real. Man. Oh, I mean, you know me, man. I can't help it. But it's who I am. But yeah, for real. Uh any of y'all have any thoughts on this or moving on? Cool. All right, well, they hmm.
You either, Manny.
This trade deadline was kind of a dud.
Manny, they
They
can't hear
can't.
you either.
No, we back.
We back
Oh,
on?
Yeah.
Uh,
they
All right.
couldn't hear you either when you. I don't think they can hear your talking either, Manny.
they can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Are we back now?
Yeah, we back. I had to switch it again. This the
Okay.
Streamlabs be acting funky.
It's
All right,
all
but
good.
yeah, we back.
All right.
Yep.
So basically, what we were leaving off on was I don't think it moves the needle for the Mavericks. I think Manny was about to jump in and say it was kind of mid the trade deadline, and I agree. Besides the Heat, there was nothing that really like wow. I think the Heat found a way to reorganize their offense and give themselves a bet on. They kind of bet on the upside of Oladipo and hoping that he'll be able to fit in and I think be that second real complimentary ball handler slash slasher, 3-point guy. Um, Hopefully be able to take key defensive assignments and help off of Jimmy and make it easier for Bam. So I think you're betting on that. And then the Bielitsa move, you're hoping that, he can give you anything from beyond the 3-point arc. He's going to get cooked on D, but I think he tries hard enough that he can give you spurts when Bam needs rest. So I think Pat Riley bet on upside and bet on athleticism with his trade acquisitions.
Bro, they just gave away Oladipo. Like, is this really just a trade for a first round pick? And even
Man,
that was a
listen.
swap.
Man.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what Houston's doing, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think Houston's just like, yo, does Houston's just like, man, we'll just try again in 5 years, like at this point, because it just feels like they're just like it just yeah, it's corny, man. I don't know. They literally gave up Karis LeVert for nothing.
Yeah, I don't understand their moves. It's very incoherent. If we're talking about any other moves, Sheldon, I actually wanted to ask you specifically about this one move that was made. I want to focus on for the Bulls fans talking about acquiring Vucevic and Tice. Do you think that moves the needle for Chicago? Anything in the future, like
It,
It's
it
a decent move. I mean, it's a decent move. I mean, Vucevic is a really good player. I think he's an underrated player because he's just been in Orlando forever, just wasting away.
right?
I think if he would, but I think if he played on a really good team, I think you see how good he is. But it's a good move for Chicago. It's another player for them to utilize and to add or to have around Levine.
Mm-hmm.
Is that make Chicago a championship team? No. Does it even
Mm-hmm.
make them a top six team? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a decent move.
Mm-hmm.
it said that I think that he's the first. I don't know if I'm right about this number, but it's like he's the first 20-10 player Chicago has ever had.
Man.
Damn.
And adding him to me is a TBD. It'd have been nicer if they could have gotten Lonzo along with him, not
Mm-hmm.
with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
Add
what you mean.
to that puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
but it's puzzling to me too because Chicago's not a front runner type team. So to add a win now type player, because he's not a player you're gonna grow with. He's already there. He's in his prime. So to get him now is kind of strange to me for the Bulls to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought one of the contenders would have made that move, but it's something. And we talk about franchises that are in flux. I don't know what Orlando is doing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because they gave up some nice pieces for little in return. So it's yet to be seen. I want to see what him and Zach LaVine could do together
Mm-hmm.
because I think them two together they should be a formidable duo. I just don't know how to pay off this year. I
Mm-hmm.
really see it paying off without adding another piece.
Mm-hmm. Ken, do you think that perhaps this is a move to be able to appease Zach Levine with like, all right, we're gonna win some games, so chill on all the I want to get out of here talk and favorite in tweets like Zach should come to this team. You know what I mean? Like, do you think this is an appeasement move?
Partly I do. I also think it could be like insurance for Zach as well. I mean, we're talking about a guy that averages 24, 11, and 4, shoots 40% from three, and so the guy can play, man. And I think when you look at what they gave up in Wendell Carter Jr. and Otto Porter, we know Wendell Carter is relatively new, and he's still developing, but will he ever turn into Vucevic? I- That remains to be seen. But if you can
No,
bring in a guy like Vucevic that we know is a bona fide guy that took Orlando to the playoffs, then that's not a bad move. And then giving up Otto Porter Jr., who hasn't been able to stay on the court as well. So you
Mm-hmm.
get a legit player in Vucevic that plays down low, and then you got Zach LaVine on the perimeter. Then you also still got Kobe White. I think they really, really believe in Patrick Williams. I haven't had a chance to see him play a lot, but I'm seeing good things about him. So I think this is a move to try to appease and keep Zach LaVine around by giving him another viable weapon to play with, or another really great player to play with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we,
Yeah,
we got a
yeah,
we got a
yeah. Go
super
ahead.
chat real. Oh, go ahead. Do you have something else on
No,
that?
no, 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 no. Go ahead, bro.
I'll try to get the super chats in as quick as possible. 313 JMO. We appreciate you very very much. He said what Griff just did by using Lonzo, trying to move him in a trade like that, and then not trading him was tragic. Now they will lose him for nothing.
What does he
Mm.
mean losing for nothing?
He's a restricted free agent.
Restricted.
Yeah.
Oh,
They,
mm.
they they still can do a sign and trade.
Yeah, they could do a China trade. They could still match any offer that he gets.
Mhm.
I don't think they lost him for nothing.
We're gonna talk about the Pelicans situation more in depth in one of a topic, but I kind of want to steer this more back towards actually Daniel Tice. I don't understand. Man, he misses a shot and they trade him. That's very tragic. Like my last point on Chicago is Vucevic can play and he's a hooper, man. But I think that I'm gonna press pause because my overall take on the deadline is the keywords are lateral moves. Lateral moves abundant. And I think that
Yep.
Chicago makes kind of a lateral move in terms of their future. They're going to be in contention for, top fives, top six seeds, maybe if they play their next offseason right. But I don't see this as being anything fantastic for them. But you also got to have also buyers beware with perhaps Vucevic is an empty stats guy. No one's ever thought of that. You know what I mean? He's a hooper, and yeah, he made the All-Star team, but he's in Orlando. And how many of those games really matter? And how many of his teammates do you actually make better? And you have to actually beware if you're a Chicago Bulls fan. I believe in this scenario. You can't get fooled. Um, Ken, Clippers.
Mm.
Rondo goes in a trade for basically nothing, steals money from Atlanta. What are we like? He ran off on Atlanta with a nice little bag, but is this going to be the move that they need in the playoffs when pressure gets the tightest?
Oh man, does such a thing as playoff Rondo exist? And can playoff Rondo, if it exists, and we've seen it at times, um, supplant playoff P's negative attributions to the
Mm,
team?
scale it. Yeah, talk about that
Yeah,
scale shit.
can it basically neutralize that, right? So can it just basically get the team back to square one in a playoff game? That remains to be seen. But I think it definitely gives them something that they've needed in terms of a real point guard, something Kawhi has been clamoring for, and he finally got it. Not only that, they got a guy who was in the locker room last year with the Lakers, so we got intel there. Not sure if it helps, but he also has playoff experience. So you got a guy that can potentially come in and win a title with, he's already won one with two-story franchise, and then it could be help the Clippers get their first one.
Mm.
I think that, um, we know Pat Bev only runs around and nip at people's heels all game. So we know that because we saw Lou Will in the playoffs. Let's just be real. He wasn't all that great, right?
He's a
And
liability.
yeah, yeah. So he kind of fell apart. So I think Rondo could potentially give them some mental toughness that they've lacked in the playoffs at times outside of Kawhi, and maybe help get them over the hump. But will it be enough? I mean, I don't know. I know that Tyronn Lue did not like playing Lou Williams, and that was evident at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So Lou just went back to Magic City. So they sent him back here so he can get a infinite supply of Lou pepper wings, lemon
He's
pepper
having a
wings.
good
So
week. He's having a great week. Got the 15,000 points and to get to go back home. Hey,
yeah,
congratulations,
for
Lou.
real. But yeah,
Yeah.
Rondo, man, I think that was if this was a calculated move by Rondo, you
Mm-hmm.
It
got to
was
salute
brilliant.
that man to come
Mm-hmm.
to Atlanta, get paid, and then get shipped out.
Yeah.
But
Because they were trying to get him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were
mhm.
trying to do at the beginning of the year. They wanted him, the Clippers wanted him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So he did. He came here, which I thought it was strange for him to come to Atlanta anyway. This is a building franchise when you're one of those players who can just jump and championship hunt. I thought him coming here was kind of a strange move, but he took the money and ran literally. So
That's two brilliant points from by Sheldon and Ken because I was thinking the exact same thing earlier. Is Rondo took advantage of maybe Atlanta's kindness or their incompetence. It's one of the two. Either they understood that we got to spend some money because Trey Young he's our brand, he's our guy. We got to win. So that means that we got to flood some money into this free agency. So you're bringing in a bunch of guys that want the ball or trying to shoot the ball, have the ball, and Rondo's like, "You gonna pay me how much?"
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, all right, yeah, I'm coming, of course, because you're gonna buy me out in a second. I ain't gonna play hard here. Like we ain't finna win. Yeah, you got too many people who want the ball. And perhaps this is one of those, NBA like inside, like, I'm saying, you got really got to be a player or an agent to see that it's like, man, sometimes you got to play your hand to know that a franchise that is not used to winning is going to do reactionary moves like that. And I felt like they had a reactionary summer, Atlanta, because they were just too reckless with their cap. And now you basically just correct your mistake. Rondo, like Ken and Sheldon say, get that bag and say, let me go now to my real team, put in my real effort in the playoffs, like I was always gonna do. But I actually was able to get my money, my cake, and eat it too.
Right.
It's a beautiful move for Rondo and his agent, masterful. Last move of my favorites, and then King can bring us into the least favorite moves. I'd probably say I do like the Celtics moving him for Fournier. I think that they did need shooting. I was talking about how they need to be able to get the ball out of Tatum's hands more. They need to get the ball out of Jaylen Brown's hands more. It's too much of ISO ball. They're gonna have to correct mistakes this summer, and we're gonna dive into Ainge and David Griffin later on. But to me, that was a great move. So shout out to the Celtics fans from a Sixers fan. So to really take that to heart. But
One more question about that moves that were made.
Mhm.
What did y'all think about Aaron Gordon going to Denver?
Ken.
I'll let y'all go because I got some stuff to
No,
get
no,
off
no,
my back.
Manny, please bring no
Yeah,
go
go ahead,
drop
Manny.
drop 30, Manny.
Not, I just don't understand this love affair with Aaron Gordon, man. Like the dude is one of these dudes that just put up numbers on bad teams. Like he's a nice player. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Gordon's a really nice player. He's a good player. Very good player. There's nothing wrong. Guys like Aaron Gordon played in the league for a long time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is he a guy that's an X factor? Does he move the needle? Does he necessarily turn Denver into a championship team? Yeah, no, I don't. I've never seen evidence of that. I know he's been in Orlando for his entire career, so it's not fair to really judge him on that. But still, I don't. I didn't really understand that move by Denver. That just kind of felt like a panic move to me.
Mm.
First of all, you're giving up Gary Harris. I like Gary Harris. I think he was part of the nucleus of that team, and you just trade him for Aaron Gordon. I don't think Aaron Gordon necessarily makes you better. Like you said earlier, man, this whole deadline just felt like it was a deadline of just making lateral moves. Let's make a trade to just make a trade. Let's make a trade to show our fans we're making trades instead
Mhm.
of making sound, smart basketball decisions. Like
Mhm.
you're taking on Aaron Gordon and that contract
Mhm.
for what exactly? Does he make? Does he? The question that Denver had to ask is, does this move infinitely make you better? And I could argue it doesn't. Like it makes them a little bit better,
Mhm.
maybe, but are they beating the Lakers? No. So
I
yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't
That's
I
just
don't
my
know.
feeling on it.
I got what you were saying, and I agree. He's not going to be one of those guys that's going to come out and average 20 even a game for that matter. But I think he adds some interior toughness, and if nothing else, it's another body that you can throw at AD. So if for that alone, I mean Gary Harris, he spent a lot of time injured, and you got a lot of those guards out there in Denver that can do what he did. You add an Aaron Gordon to me, that's just another big body that can get rebounds, that can get some putbacks, get some baskets. Just another player for Joker to pass to. I think he's going to be a nice athletic, solid fit. You know what I'm saying? He'll do what they had in what's the Plumlee brother. He was quite similar, only an upgrade from that. And I think it's a nice move. I kind of like the Aaron Gordon move.
So he's
Hmm.
a better version. So he's a better version of Mason Plumlee, but
Yes,
but that
No,
doesn't necessarily make
yeah,
you
that's
better.
that.
and
Yeah,
they
it
lost
that's
doesn't
Mason.
it doesn't make you better. Yeah.
It does because they lost Mason Plumlee. They lost that off the bench. They lost that. That's like I said, it's another body, if nothing else, to go against AD in some size out west. They
Okay.
they need so it kind of helps. I mean, like I said, losing if they had to give up more than Gary Harris, uh, maybe I'd be a little skeptical. But they didn't really give up anything to get him like that. That was of substance. So I'm okay with that.
I don't know if Mason, whatever that Plumlee cleared, is a good comp for Aaron Gordon.
There,
Um,
this is in, kind of a mad move for me. It wasn't in my least favorites. I was gonna mention it. I know the Denver fans, if they have those still, in the chat, we're probably gonna say something about it. But I wasn't really that moved by it. I think that you're trying to replace Jeremy Grant is the player that I think the real comp is. They were trying
Yep.
to replace Jeremy Grant's defense and his ability to switch. And I think that they're betting on the upside of an Aaron Gordon to be able to deliver more of an athletic fold to their offense. Somebody that Joker can throw lobs to for real. Somebody who can, that's in their repertoire. All these players on the team can catch a lob, but to have lobs in your offense is a whole different type of ordeal. So I can see what Denver's trying to do. I just don't really love JaVale because I think LeBron made JaVale better than what JaVale really ever was. I think Steph and KD and Clay made him better than what he ever was.
Mhm.
So maybe drop him down into maybe what 3 tiers lower than those guys with Jamal Murray and Jokic. Some will say that Jokic is on that plane. I don't think he is. But if you drop him down in that type of system in that situation, I would be very curious to see if JaVale McGee can be as effective in winning basketball for Mike Malone as he was for Steve Kerr with all-time great teams and LeBron James and the all-time greatest player in my opinion right now.
I like the move because they didn't give up shit for him. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Gary Harris, I mean, RJ Hampton and a first round pick that's protected.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gary Harris, I think they had a overabundance of players that did the same thing that he was doing. So I
That's
think
true.
that giving up him, it was fine to get rid of him, and he can go to Orlando and just get stuck in purgatory. Um, but I think Aaron Gordon, for what they got in return for what his upside could be, if you're looking to beat a team like the Lakers, I think it's worth taking that risk. It's one of those situations where we talked about Vucevic earlier. Q, you brought up whether or not he's one of those players that puts up empty stacks on a bad team, and we'll find that out. Like, are you able to take the talent that you have that we've seen when
Mm-hmm.
they draft you to be a franchise player, and can you mold that into something that contributes to a winning organization? Could you be the missing
Exactly,
piece?
exactly. Because I feel Aaron Gordon. Because in my opinion, guys like him and Zach LaVine were supposed to take another step when they made that moment in
Mhm.
the dunk contest. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the NBA dropped the ball severely with not really branding around those guys, not on some like face of the league stuff, but feature the fact that you have two insane athletes who were coming up with dunks that we've never seen before on off freestyling. And I think that Aaron Gordon had that mentality of, yo, I could be this guy that gets all these cheers from my actual game. I'm working on my three-point shot. And Denver is betting on that upside the same way I think Miami's betting on it. You go from a smaller market to a mid market in Denver. Well, Denver's a huge market in my opinion. Actually factual. They're top. They're a top 8 market, right? So Denver, he goes to a large market, and I think that you got to bet on the ability for him to fill in that switchable 3 and hopefully D guy, and just hope that it's not fool's gold. Another lateral
Mhm.
move, Manny. I think we were talking about this in the chat. If it wasn't you, if it was Nick. Another lateral move I felt like, but maybe I'm wrong. And if the chat is killing me, let me know. But Portland, they trade, in my opinion, they traded Norman Powell Jr. for Norman Powell. And it's just like I
Yep,
don't like
absolutely. Yep.
what the hell are we talking about? So
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
go.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Before I go on that, let me just go back to the Aaron Gordon thing. I'm not
Mhm.
saying Aaron Gordon doesn't help the Nuggets. I'd be stupid to say that.
Right,
I just feel like where the Nuggets are in their progression, I feel like the move that they make is a move that puts them over the edge.
right.
That's like if you're gonna sell off some of your assets that you have, the overabundance of assets that you do have, that move is that okay, I'm making that Kawhi Leonard move. I'm making that move that okay, this is the move that puts me into another stratosphere. Aaron Gordon is not the guy that puts you in another stratosphere. That's just
Mhm.
my overall point. As far as the Blazer move, again, it just feels like another move where it was just a trade for the sake of making a trade. Like I like Norman Powell a lot, but again, you just traded Gary Trent, which is like Norman Powell light for Norman Powell. Like so, I just why like
Mhm.
it just doesn't. Again, it just didn't make sense. Like to me, we all know what Portland's weakness is.
Mhm.
They need defense. They
Mhm.
need defense. They need defense on all defense. They need defense on the perimeter. And while Norman Powell is a capable defender, he's no more for offense than he is for his defense. So I just again I don't understand that. I don't understand that move either, man. I kind of question these moves. Like, what's the logic behind it?
Well, can can we say that Norman Powell is a better scorer than Gary Trent Jr.
This
and
season,
Rod,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
and Rodney Hood? Because I think if yeah, he is an offensive player, and part of the problem with Portland is that they are a two-headed monster. So well, and then there's Melo,
It's
but
mellow. Yeah.
you still need at least another guy that can go out at any moment, light you up. And that's what Norman Powell can do. Like, you can't rely on him, but every once in a while he'll get hot, from three or just get hot in the game, and he can help reduce the offensive load on Lillard
Yeah.
and McCollum. And, he's better than Derrick Jones Jr. and some of these other guys, Nazir
Absolutely,
Little,
absolutely. Yeah.
Anthony Simmons.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it is a lateral move. I do agree with you guys, but I think in terms of his overall ability and skill set, uh, compared to what they gave away and got back in return, I think it's not that bad of a move.
It's not, and like you said, you make some good points. They do need some more consistency and some other guys that can go off on any given night. I just feel like for me, for Portland, their offense isn't the problem. That's the issue. Like
Mhm.
to me, that's just you're doubling down on something that's already your strength.
Mhm.
You just improved it by a little bit, right? Like you just adding Norman Powell to a
Hmm.
team that's already a very good offensive team. So to me, why not go out and get a guy who could be a defensive anchor? Why not go
They're
out and
They're
get
gonna have to
a
sign him,
defensive
right?
wing? Powell, he's a free
Yeah,
agent, right? Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
restricted free agent. So I mean, I guess you gonna have to sign him. And from an organizational standpoint, perhaps Portland is thinking long view. Maybe the next 18 months, Carl Anthony Towns can be on the table, and then you're looking at CJ Norman Powell and some young guys hopefully going to Minnesota. That's just what I'm thinking on some inklings. But in terms of right now, I guess they're betting on Norman Powell with top 3 3-point percentage in the NBA, or at least top three makes. That's incredible. He's hooping this season. He's balling. He can
Yeah,
switch.
he a baller. He
Yeah,
a baller. Like
yeah.
it's no knock on the players themselves. I
No,
just
for sure. I'm the one who said it was mid, but because that's only because I'm judging the GMs from
I got you.
are you going from home runs, or are you going for first base?
Yeah, I got you. I think, yeah, I mean, in terms of grading the GMs and the moves, I think that's, a good perspective to look at. Like, again, I think I look at the pieces that they gave up in return for what they could potentially get in the playoffs. And, Rodney Hood ain't doing shit anymore. And Gary Trent Jr., is whatever. But Norman Powell,
Talented.
wasn't he on the damn didn't he win a ring with them? With
Who? Norman
Toronto?
Yeah,
Powell?
no,
Yeah,
Norman
yeah,
Powell
he
has
was
a
a
ring.
champ.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, he did.
he a champion.
Yeah. So he brings some championship experience, if you want to call
That's a
that.
great point.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the pluses that Portland could gain in terms of with Norman Powell versus what they get, I mean, they got rid of dead weight. At least Norman Powell could probably come in and contribute right away.
Mhm.
But I do agree it is a lateral move. It's not going to help them in the long run. But you
Mhm.
know, speaking of Portland, Lillard just got fouled on a 3-point attempt and hit all three. So he came through in the clutch again.
Damn.
Wow, it was a step back too, and old boy got him on the arm, and
His
he
It's
dra- he
MVP
built
tra-
different,
ladder.
man.
He's
It's
climbing
built
that
different.
MVP ladder, man. He's climbing
It's
that.
built different, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy how people just it took this long for people to really appreciate what this brother
He's a
does
hooper,
night in and
man.
night
But
out,
he,
man.
but like FIFO say it, man. He needs a big. He needs a big.
Yeah, he needs a big man, and again, that's like where I'm coming from with this. It's like again, you're in a position where you can actually improve your team significantly. It has to be a significant move. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying go out there and get crazy, but just go out there and say, okay, I'm making a trade that's going to infinitely make me better. You know, so that's the question that you have to answer. And I don't think any of these GMs can realistically look at themselves and say, "Yep, I got significantly better. I am much better today than I was, 24 hours ago." I don't, I
I
just
think
don't
there are
think
Maybe
you can
Pat
two.
say that.
Riley and maybe
Maybe Pat Riley
Yeah,
can say that.
maybe Pat and maybe
Pat
the
Riley,
Yeah,
Denver GM.
I,
yeah,
I, I
Dallas.
think I think that the deals that were made was the ones that you couldn't make. I mean, I don't think that there was too many home runs available to hit. You know what I'm saying? At the trade deadline, it's about just tipping the scale sometimes, and sometimes it's about just improving you just enough to where you can make up some of those deficiencies. Some moves are, predecessors to the next move.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that some teams got better
Mhm.
in these trades. I think that a lot of them were lopsided trades. I don't understand some of the sellers
Yeah.
market. I just don't get it. What they got in return was not worth what they were giving up.
They
But I
were
guess
just trading to trade. They were just
yeah,
trading to
yeah.
trade.
I guess in some cases, like maybe Houston, for example, I try to make sense of it. I don't think it does, but maybe with getting into Avery Bradley, they're looking to sell him sometime down the road. Kelly Olynyk, same thing. We're gonna turn around and flip him down the road.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I can think of.
and
you
and
can't
that
flip
and then
him.
and that's because GMs are either cap conscious, GMs are incompetent, GMs are planners, or they're just reactionary. You got like those type of GMs. I think that obviously when we get to the topic, but Denver and Miami, those are the only GMs that I think feel really
Yep.
on the upside of like, you know what,
Hmm.
if this goes right, I think we could be clicking because we're thinking about the like a LaMarcus Aldridge buyout market. The buyout
Hmm.
market is going to be
Drummond.
pretty. I think it's yeah. You have a buyout
Dr-
market. Yeah, come on, like that. Like the buyout market is going to be something that a team could just bring that one final piece in. I think Miami's looking at LaMarcus Aldridge, and I think that you got a GM and Pat Riley who understands that we took the Lakers when they were at full strength 6 games. If Victor Oladipo can give us 80% of what he was, like really, if Jimmy Butler can give us just 90% of that performance, if Bam takes another step, if we can get Aldridge to expel minutes or put beside Bam, like this, I think they look good. I think Denver
Yeah.
also has to have the same mentality.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
that's what I
yeah.
said on Twitter, man. Like, if imagine if Oladipo was on that team last year, you know,
Yeah.
it could have at
Yeah.
least went seven, possibly win it, because you never know what happens in a game seven.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
Right.
that was especially with what they gave up. I mean, that's a really
Nothing.
good trade for
Yeah.
for him. I think
And it's a place he wanted to be. And it's a place he wanted to be. So
yeah,
it worked. So it adds to that he wants to be there too. So
yeah.
yeah,
I
no,
think
everything that y'all are saying is cool. Is cool. I actually think Drummond is the move that I think like if somebody gets Drummond, especially a contender, like the contender that gets Drummond, that's the type of move that I go like, oh, okay, that's like if like let's say Boston got Andre Drummond. Okay, that's a move that all right, it takes Boston to another level because that's the perfect fit. That's the move that they need. They've needed a big man inside since KG. Damn near it feels like. I mean, they've needed someone inside that attracts attention, that can just play defense, can be that defensive anchor, and he would be that guy. And a lot of teams that could use, the Lakers if they got Drummond would change the dynamic of the equation. So I guess that's why I feel like this trade down was a little bit of a dud because the guys that I felt like were the impact guys, like Alonzo, like imagine if Alonzo goes to the Clippers. That's a move that all right, it takes the Clippers from okay, they were all right straight to
I
okay,
can
this
dig
is
that. Yeah.
different. Yeah, so
but
that's
we
why I
also
felt
got
like this.
yeah, I feel you, but we also got to look at like we're talking about some of these big names. Like, what do you have to give up to get them too? So, what do
Well, I
you
feel
have
like a
to
lot of
do to
GMs
give up?
overvalue some of their names too. Like for instance, like Kyle Lowry. Like I think Toronto made a mistake. Like they overvalued his worth. Like because if you
Real.
read the tea leaves, Toronto was out here overvaluing Kyle Lowry. Like at this point, you're doing Kyle Lowry a favor. You're not
Well,
trying to go
Masai is
add
not
for
gonna make a bad trade. I think that he falls into just one of those like he's a planner. Like I think that he's one of those guys who is looking at Lowry in the same way that maybe the Pelicans finally looked at Lonzo like, wait, let's not just make a move here to make a move. Let's make somebody come and get these guys with something that we can actually get a return on. You know what I mean? It's something that is going to give us dividends down the line. And the Sixers were in talks, and I was gonna put the Sixers in a good move, but George Hill's a good backup. But I wanted Lowry because I felt like that was the move for us to make. That would have made us, in my opinion, win the deadline. Because all these other teams are elevating, and we're hoping that Joel Embiid can come back and be good. And I don't think that Daryl Morey should have sat on his laurels. But I also understand with the same motive that Manny's talking about. You don't want to just overpay because in the summertime, some of these guys might be available for less, or you can, a lot of guys feel they're different on draft night. A lot of GMs feel froggier on draft night, where it's like, oh, new commodities, new draft picks, and let's just get off of these old talents. You know what I mean? So maybe we'll see what happens with Lowry then, but I get it.
You know,
Yep.
so there's a thing like in day and swing trading where they say sometimes the best trade is no trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of that's what you were alluding to, Q, is that the Lonzo Ball, why trade just to trade? With Lowry, why trade just to trade? Just
Mhm.
so I think those moves could be smart for those teams. I want to ask Chicago whether or not we like the move or not, but I think that GM of Chicago think he did it. He think he did a good job today by getting Vucevic. So I think I want to add him to the list as well.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there's something that I've noticed that may be a new trend, and it's the buyout market. So let's take Andre Drummond and let's take LaMarcus Aldridge, right? Two guys that can clearly play. Um, and they were up for a trade, but nobody picked them up. And now they could potentially or will go to the bot market. And I'm wondering, could this become like the new thing depending on certain players? I know a lot of other players have more value than others, so it's a lot easier to make a trade depending on what, the team is willing to give up. But for guys like Drummond and Aldridge, if you're a team that wants to get him, you could potentially wait that out and get him in the buyout market
Yeah.
and just go shopping. So this is going to be interesting to watch.
It depends. It depends. Every situation is different. So I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a new trend per se because I think every year is different. Every player, every situation is different. Um, I think this year was a unique one with Drummond and Aldridge. So I don't know if it's necessarily something that we're going to see every year going forward. But yeah, I mean, I think it is at least a factor in when you're discussing a trade deadline. Like, yeah, let's see if we can wait a team out. Maybe like for instance, a Kyle Lowry. Like if Toronto is essentially asking for too much for a Kyle Lowry, you know what I'm saying? You pretty much just put yourself in a situation. I'm like, all right, we're just gonna play the waiting game. We're gonna play the waiting game and not overspend and just get this guy for free or just get this guy for just money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
and this is. I think we should go to. You want to go to the topic now, Ken, or you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to?
go ahead.
Hold on, we got another super chat real quick. We just got one from Connor Pearson Ward. We appreciate you, Connor. Connor said, I personally think Portland lost their trade due to the fact that Trent Jr. is the same player as Powell, but he's 5 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
I,
So
I
what they saying in the chat regarding their favorite trades? Like, what's everybody's consensus right now?
haven't seen any favorites. I just saw a lot of them where they said they didn't like them.
Where because
They,
I
they,
feel like that's been the attitude.
yeah. They agree with me though. The only thing, Manny, um, I disagree with the fact that he said that Drummond. I don't think Drummond's going to be that big of a difference.
Mm,
Uh,
I
he's
agree.
not that. I mean, he's a great player.
Really?
Don't get me wrong, but I don't think in the free agent. I mean, in the I don't think he's the person to push the team over the edge right now. Maybe if we were in the offseason going into the next season, but I think mid-season, when you get some of those players that are like that, them coming in and having to shift gears, it doesn't always go quite as smoothly as some of the middle level players, if that makes sense. Like I said, if you take an Aaron Gordon and you put him on a team like that, it's easier for him to fit in than to take somebody who may have been his team's leading scorer and rebounder and put him on a new team and expect him to fit in, if that makes sense. So a
I
lot of
see
those
what you're
players,
saying.
it's kind of hard to do it in mid-season. So like coming in mid-season and like slapping him, say you slap him with the Celtics, that's
Mm,
an awkward transition for a player like Drummond who's used to kind of being the man to go to being now you're the third. maybe fourth option on the team.
Mhm.
So his impact may not be as great as say somebody going in who was already a third or fourth option to be the same thing for another team, just stepping up a little bit.
Mhm.
So that's kind of those are kind of the moves I look for at the trade deadline. Now, free agency is a different story. Like I
Mhm.
said, when you got an off season to come in and it's like, okay, these are the rules. This is what we're trying to accomplish with you, and you got time to work on that. That
Mhm.
makes a better transition than mid, like a mid-season stroke.
I don't know, man. I think Drummond on the Lakers, just off his what
Yeah,
we've seen him do in Detroit, that's a huge addition because he's just like fucking Dwight Howard. He's just gonna grab rebounds, dunk, catch a couple of lobs here and there, put him with LeBron. That's gonna make them like extremely dangerous. He's not a franchise guy. He's not a go-to guy that
right.
teams eventually that tried to make him out to be. But you fit him right in with that team, and they need a five. He could be a huge difference for the Lakers. Now, maybe not as much for Boston, because I don't know if he would fit what Brad Stevens like to do, but still he's a young athletic guy that could definitely fill a void that they currently have right now, especially compared to all the other bigs that Boston have on that team. So nah, he's not going to come in and change the franchise to be a third scorer or anything like that. But just doing what Andre Drummond does best,
Yeah,
yeah, man, yeah, that would be
yeah,
And
a,
you just
a
you
huge
just really
pickup.
and the Lakers would be a good move, and I agree
Yeah,
with that. And the reason being is it's easier to sell LeBron than anything else. You tell somebody to come in, they already know their place in the hierarchy when you're dealing with LeBron.
right. And he
But
played in Detroit for all those damn years. He ain't trying to go back to some
yeah,
shit like that.
yeah,
I think LA or
see,
yeah.
Brooklyn, man. Those are
but
those
see,
those are the two cities.
A
yeah,
contender, mainly just a contender. I
Well, yeah,
think.
I
I
mean the
think
but
Drummond.
only two
I,
real ones that need him, honestly.
but I can't quite say that though, because some of these guys still have higher expectations of themselves and higher thought processes of themselves than they do anything else. He may think he's the difference. So like send me to this place and send me to that place because I'm gonna be the man. You know what I'm saying? Some people think
well,
like that.
Drummond is wrong.
Yeah,
Bro, he
yeah, and
wrong
I
there.
agree. But you think about how many players think that way. We just saw it the other day with Draymond thinking he's the greatest defender of all. I mean, people think sometimes that they're bigger than what they are, and they think that they're
Yeah,
different. And it's hard to get them to buy in. So hopefully he's the type that will buy in somewhere and accept the role. But some of these guys ain't willing to do that. He still thinks he's a franchise player, and if he has that mentality, it's going to kind of be hard to say, "Come in, once you get rebounds and get putbacks and keep it moving." Nah, man, I'm a 2010 guy. In his brain, that's what he is. I'm an all-star. I need to be, doing that. So it just depends on the player and if they're mature enough to handle that and say, that's what I want to do. But I don't think he's been in the league long enough to say championship or bust. I want to win right now
If he
at all
wants to go to
costs.
the Knicks, if he goes to the Knicks, if he goes to the Nets, and if he goes to the Lakers, I think that the Nets need him because of just Joel Embiid and the quote unquote the Jokic's and the Go Bears. Those are the two that you really want to oppose if you're gonna go into the finals or you're gonna go against AD, obviously. And I
Mhm.
think that if you're going to the Lakers, you still would be able to get a spot there. You'll be filling minutes there when AD doesn't want to play the five. But the Knicks is the interesting one because it falls into what you're saying. If he wants to bet on himself and try to get another, $100 and some $1 million contract or whatever, he might take a flyer there and make them re-sign him. But I think he'll end up going to the Lakers, man. I think that he wants to just prove himself and then get a ring, and he can prove himself by getting a ring and get that deal. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to go play for the Knicks to go get another big contract.
We got another super chat. This one's from Brennan Irvin. Appreciate you, Brennan. Who was the biggest loser in the trade deadline? The Magic or the Rockets?
ooh, Rockets, Rockets,
Rockets have lost
Rockets.
all damn year, yo. Like,
Yeah,
I would say
the
Magic.
Rockets.
I would say Magic, and the only reason I would say the Magic is because what all did the Rockets give up at the trade deadline? We just talking trade deadline. Oladipo.
The
Yeah, they gave up
Rockets.
Oladipo. Yeah.
The Magic won because of addition by subtraction, man. The Magic had to blow it up. They're not going anywhere with this core group of guys that they've been trotting out there for the last 5 years and
Mm.
barely making an eighth seed. To me, the Magic just had to clean house and just restart.
They did,
So I think,
but in the restart, they should have gotten more back from what they gave up. They didn't get
yeah,
anything back.
ideally, but look at the guys you're trading. Unless you're telling me you're trading guys of just high impact. You know what I'm saying? Again, I think we both have different opinions of Vucevic and Gordon. You know, Orlando wasn't trading Penny Hardaway in his prime. You know, Orlando wasn't trading Shaq in his prime. Like they're trading Vucevic and Aaron Gordon, two very good players, but guys that aren't exactly, you know, you're not going to have teams lined up to just basically give you, you know, the top five pick in the draft for them. You know what I mean? So I think Orlando, I give Orlando a pass because I think Orlando just decided finally just to hit the restart. But Houston, on the other hand, you gave up for however you may think and what I feel about James Harden. There's no denying James Harden's ability and talent. You give up a James Harden and all you have to show for it is just a bunch of dudes and
I
some
think
low end picks that you're just hoping and praying that the Nets have a bad year that could become maybe a top 10 pick. Like, yeah, I just think Rockets lost all the way, man.
mhm, I agree. I have nothing
Me
else to
too.
say. That like 100%. Ken,
All right,
did you
Q.
want
Yeah,
to
we
just
can hit
go
the
into the
topic.
next one?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah. Go
get
ahead.
it. All right. So when it comes to another one I wanted to pose to the council is we need to have a come to Jesus moment with two GMs and two coaches. And I think that we can have a comparison. We can, go, and compare the two teams and the two situations. And I think that the twin franchises in very similar spots right now, regardless of whether people want to see it or not, Boston and New Orleans. I believe that they are in very similar situations. I believe that they have very similar problems. And I think that you can look at the fact that they did not trade Lonzo Ball today from a multitude of perspectives, but their GM, their coach, David Griffin, Jeff Van Gundy, Stan. It's one of those Van Gundys. I can't remember their names,
Stan.
but Stan.
Saying
So Stan the man. We
Ron
said
Jeremy.
Ken, you said earlier that JJ, may not have voiced his displeasure. Yes, he did. He voiced it. He said at the very beginning of the season, he was like, "I can't wait." He was all sarcastic, and everyone thought he was joking. He was dead ass serious. He was like, "I can't wait to go run 100 wind sprints like it's 1998 basketball practice for real though."
Oh
And
wow.
that's why Stan Van Gundy does not connect with his youth movement, and you can see the type of basketball that they're running that they don't know what
Yep.
team it is. And you can look at David Griffin, the moves that he's put around Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams, these contracts that you are giving out to people that you could have paid Christian Wood all less money to do what you want Steven Adams to do, and that could actually give you way more of a stretch big. You sign Eric Bledsoe when you have Lonzo Ball. That is so redundant. It makes no sense. And then I think that in the same vein, in a different city, you have Jason Tatum and you have Jalen Brown. It may look prettier. The pig may have better makeup on it, but it's still a pig, motherfucker. Like, yeah, it still is. And when you look at Danny Ainge's moves, we talked about it in the last show. Where do we sit, fellas, in terms of these championship windows? Are these GMs and coaches, are they the ones who are going to take them to the finish line? Who has to go on which situation, and which team would you rather have? Somebody, anybody.
That's an interesting topic. That's a good one. I will say, I still think I still think Boston's in a better situation right now, today, like just speaking today, short term. Just because I still believe that Boston, once they get Marcus Smart back, they get a little healthier. I think they can still make a run, and maybe that's fool's goal. I totally admit that maybe that's fool's goal, but I still think Boston still has championship aspirations. Um, I think there's just some problems there. I don't know what it is with that team, man, but they've been disappointing for the last 2 3 years, man.
Does it
I feel like
rhyme
they've
with
been.
mad even? Is that is
Yo,
that
you
one
know
of the
what?
problems?
I think he could be one of the problems. Yeah, I've been a defender of Brad Stevens, but yo, For all the bouquets, for all the flowers, man, you haven't gotten to a finals and you've underachieved with what's been a very talented team. You know what I'm saying? You can't blame Kyrie anymore. He's not the problem anymore. He's not in that locker room anymore. You can't blame him anymore. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I still think New Orleans is a young team still trying to figure it out. So I'm willing to give them more of the benefit of the doubt. They're still young in their maturation and their progression. I mean, Zion's only in year two, so I'm still not ready to go out and kill New Orleans just yet. But I think Boston right now is still in a better situation because Boston can turn. Boston's a 5 or 6 game winning streak away from turning things around and being in a better situation. And plus, they play in
Yeah,
the East.
yeah, that's huge. They're in the East, and I just think that Boston is in a better situation because of the market that they're in going forward. Anyway, a free agent will go to Boston before they go to New Orleans because Zion is out of there as soon as he can,
Man, come on.
and it's just like you said, the redundancy of having Bledsoe and Lonzo on the same squad. It's just not a pretty team right now. It's no direction, and they really just. I mean, I'm not happy with either team right now. But if I had to take my pick, like you just said, man, they're win streak away from being serious contenders again.
Yeah.
And bringing in Fournier, we'll see if that. I think it's going to help. I think that's going to be a nice little
Hmm.
addition. I really do. I really think that that's something. Like I said it before. That's what they needed. I think that with that, it's going to help Boston. And no, Brad Stevens is not helping at this point, and he should be out after this year if they don't
Mm,
advance past the second round. I think he should be gone.
that's
I
one
agree
vote.
with that actually. I agree with
Mhm.
that actually.
That's one.
I
That's
think
two
I
votes
think
for Brad.
I do think Brad Stevens, if he doesn't get it done this year, I think you definitely have to consider making a coaching change because if nothing else,
Come
change
on.
the voice in the room. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Maybe a different voice, maybe a different perspective might do it.
Hmm.
It's not gonna
I
happen.
mean, they should bring Kyrie in the coach since he said that I mean, he do that anyway. So bring Kyrie in. He seemed to get it right. But I want to ask you, Ken, is it on, Danny Ainge? Like, can we get like these GMs, Griffin and Ainge, have been, in my opinion, held up on pedestals for so long. When
Mhm.
it's like, fam, you get number one draft pick after number one draft pick because the league feels sorry for you, and
Correct.
that's just and you're at a point where you get Wiggins, you get Anthony Bennett, you fall into LeBron wanting to come home because Dwayne Wade's knees fell apart. That's the reason why he left. Don't get it twisted. He didn't
Facts.
leave. He didn't leave because Cleveland was calling him home. We already know what time it is.
Right.
LeBron is a master spin, and he's great, and he brought you a championship. And then you proceed to go to clean up Dell Demps' mess. That's what it was framed as. And then you then move on to doing the exact same thing that they did with AD that you're doing to Zion. You put a bunch of redundant, middle of the pack pieces. I'm not naming names. I think they have some young talent. But in terms of these twin cities, I'm seeing a lot of symmetry in what is wrong with their makeup. You go get Jeff Teague to support Kemba Walker. He's been, come on, fam. Like, you go get a guy in Pritchard who's been hooping, but he's
Hmm.
been like really your fourth, fifth best player. Marcus Smart has been hurt. Tristan Thompson doesn't want to be there. He's too busy in LA with the Kardashians. And this is Danny Ainge's work. Brad Stevens has not been able to make personalities mesh. Stan Van Gundy has a reputation of being a classful coach with personalities. So somebody has to be held accountable here. It can't just be, damn, Brandon Ingram ain't hooping. Damn, Zion is too overweight. Nah, man, y'all got to put some teams around these guys. And JJ
Yeah.
Redick can't get shots. Come on now.
Um, Tristan, he went there as a free agent, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, now he don't want to be there. Okay. Um, here's the thing, man. So David Griffin may have received a lot of hype for what he did when he was in Cleveland. He made some solid moves, but um, and it somewhat worked out. But people can argue that LeBron was the orchestrator of that as well, and
Mhm.
people say that all the time. I'm going to I'm kind of on the fence about David Griffin, mainly because he just got there. But based on what he's done so far, bringing in Stan Van Gundy, bringing in Eric Bledsoe, like what have the two of them discussed in terms of the future for this team? So maybe you brought in Bledsoe because your intentions all along was to get rid of Lonzo Ball because you didn't want to pay him in the off season. He's asking for 20 mil, and you're not trying to do that. So you feel like let's just have Zion bring the ball up, point 0.5, point 0.4, whatever, and maybe Bledsoe would relieve him here and there, and then you can trade Lonzo. So now if you're Lonzo, you're kind of pissed off about that. Who knows what Lonzo and JJ have been talking about? You're already talking about the clashes. So Stan and David Griffin have already fucked up a good thing. So there's that. So we got to see what they do in the offseason because that's going to say everything. In terms of Boston, though, they are in serious, serious trouble. And, I have been a critic of Danny Ainge while others have praised him because they saw a lot of draft assets that he had, picks, collateral, whatever you want to call them. And I saw them turn into a bunch of nothing because you got to get the picks right. You got Jaylen Brown, you got Jason Tatum, but they basically do the same damn thing if you really want to look at it. And then what happened with Jaylen Brown? If Jaylen Brown thinks he's as good as Jason Tatum, so then you got that. So Marcus Smart works well because he's a workman. He fits right in. He does all the dirty stuff. But them egos, man, can get the best of you. And I think that when things are going great, everything is gold. But now they're going through some adversity, and they better be lucky as hell that Kyrie's not there, or it will be hell to pay. But it's so far there hasn't been a reversal of the trend. And I think with the lackluster talent they have there, there's only so much two guys can do to bring them over the top. And we're starting to see that. And, I know people are praising Fournier, and I like him. He can play. He can shoot the ball. I know there's high praise for Cornette, this other guy that they got. But if there's some disunity, if there's some dysfunction in that locker room, it's not going to work.
There's two locker rooms.
Yeah, and Brad Stevens already calling out the team. So that's not good. When the coach start calling out the players publicly, that starts to tell me something.
Yep.
They're in trouble, bro.
Yep. And I can see it, man. It's just like a lot of people who go to the games, the reporters from Boston, the reporters on the Pelican side, you can see on one side, the Pelicans, they can get up and down the court. But in some moments, you see a lot of tension with the Boston Celtics. It's just, all right, Kemba, you try now. All right, Tatum's hot tonight. You go. It's not, you know what it is? I'm going to give you this. It's like Bizarro World Brooklyn Nets in Boston, where you have Kemba, who is like Bizarro World Kyrie with, like tendonitis in his Achilles and his knees are shot. You have, wannabe KD. And this is not shots at them. I'm just letting you know. You have like a wannabe KD with Tatum. And then you got, Jaylen Brown, who wants to do all this whoop-de-whoop between his legs now. Like, he got handles. And I'm like, all right, well, he can hoop. And all these guys are good at what they do. And some of them would even say that they're even superstars on the rise in terms of Tatum and Brown. But I don't see the system in place, nor do I see the auxiliary pieces around them that are going to accentuate their skill set. To me, Jaylen Brown is not the guy that you want handling the ball. I think he's Norman Powell's role in Toronto on steroids. I think he could be a superstar doing that. More in the Kawhi mold of how Popovich used him. I think Tatum needs to be used in off-ball action, and I think he needs to get in the flow more instead of just wanting to pound the ball. But he's a pounder by, nature. But I think that he needs to get more with the coach who tells him, no, we need you to move. And Kemba is a liability. I'm seeing redundancy, Ken. Like I think you have a great point. But if you're Zion and you're David Griffin and you're talking, I want you to have the ball, son. And that's why I'm gonna go get Steven Adams to sit his big ass in the paint and take up the whole. What does that have? Like, how do you How do you brand yourself as being we're going to build around Zion and then do the exact same mistakes that led you to trading Anthony Davis? This is why there are reactionary GMs, there are planning GMs, there are GMs that are very calculated. But there's about 8 teams in the NBA that are just continuing to make dumb trades, as they say. And that's why you're always going to have a buyout market. It's why you're always going to have a team that is in the mix to get that one piece. Because teams will overpay and teams will give contracts to guys who are incoherent with their roster.
I think we got to watch Brandon Ingram too, because last year when Zion was ascending and became the talk of the town, his body language didn't look great.
Yep.
I think he's settled into what they like to do now, and he's clearly the alpha dog on that team, especially down the stretch. But he sees himself as the man. And if David Griffin and the NBA are going to start selling Zion, that could cause some problems there as well. Like when the three of them got together, we thought we were about to see like a great show night in and night out. And Stan and David came in there and they were basically taking that all apart. So who like Ball and Zion, like they have great chemistry. Why would you mess with that? It makes absolutely no sense. We saw it in spurts. You just need the right coach to come in and just fine tune it and get it working, and build and develop and mentor these guys. But when you look at Boston, though, if we deconstruct what has occurred over the last, or we just go back in history and look at what has occurred over the last couple of years, you know, you have Kyrie. Kyrie gets hurt. You win all the games without Kyrie. You think you're better than Kyrie. Kyrie comes back. Then he gets hurt again. Then you don't win. Then after that, you trade Kyrie. Kyrie's out of there because you think you're better than Kyrie. And I was on that wave. They were ultimately better than Kyrie. Kyrie caused a lot of this team, a lot of dysfunction in the locker room. It was just a fact.
Right.
And I called it out early on this show before anybody else, including the mainstream media. But yet, I think maybe Kemba came there, somebody came there, and then LeBron leaves, and now you're like, man, this is our shot. We're gonna go to we get a chance. The king has left, and we're gonna get a chance to go to the finals, and then you get bounced out like back to back without him there when you were supposed to seize on that opportunity. Giannis put you out, I think, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then I
1
think,
year.
yep. And then Miami put you out. And then,
Last,
so that's 3 times this godlike coach hasn't been able to get over the hump. It's one thing to lose to LeBron because everybody's lost to LeBron in the East. But when he goes and you still lose and you see the Raptors go win a fucking title and then you see Miami get to the finals.
That's the key. That's the
Bro,
key right there, Cam, because
good.
it's like Danny Ainge refused to make the move. You know what I mean? Like Danny Ainge refused to make the move. Whether it is, you know what, let's see what we can do with Jimmy Butler as the third guy here. You know what? Let's plunge on Kawhi Leonard right now. You know what? Let's get AD for 1 year. And the Boston logic of certain fans was, and a lot of fans feel this way when this type of scenario comes up, is, you know what, we only get him for 1 year and then he'll leave. And what's the point of that? You know what? I believe GMs who think like that, I think you're in the past. I don't think that GMs who talk like that and fans who talk like that, I don't think you're looking at the landscape of what this NBA is now. These guys are not married to y'all teams no more. Just because they sign a 4-year, 5-year deal, they are not there for those 5 years. If they get unhappy in 1 second, they can go. So this terrain of the NBA and these players being able to exercise their ability to leave and predict their destinies now, to me, it's ignorant of Danny Ainge to say, I'm not going to trade my great treasure trove of second-round picks and late firsts for Anthony Davis because he might leave. What the hell do you think where the fuck you think you at, Danny Ainge? And that's just my mentality. We're looking at him because let's say Anthony Davis takes you to the finals and he's like, you know what, bro, I love the city here. I loved it here. You know what? I'm gonna run it back. There's a 10% chance he would have did that, but at least you went to the finals. That's money in your GM. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's money in
Yep.
your owner's pocket. That's what this shit is all about. So when people get fucked up, you're doing the same shit with Zion. You're taking away the ability for that team to be built around a mega star, an actual attraction for people to come and see. But instead, they're clogging the lane. They're doing redundant moves with point guards that all need the ball. If I'm being real with you, the real move is send Brandon Ingram to Charlotte for Rozier and let Lonzo walk. And that's the move you got to make, in my opinion.
Bro,
And
the
get some.
highlight of the Boston Celtics of the last few years for the Boston Celtics was Jason Tatum dunking on LeBron. I mean,
Come on, bro. Like
that's,
Hayward
that's kind
injures
of it.
himself within the first 4 minutes.
And they
Come
gonna turn
on.
around. They could turn around and sell that as an NFT. You know, make some money. Get some.
That's gonna be a top shot. Come on
Yeah,
now.
it's gonna be an NBA
Man.
top shot.
Nah, man. Well, you know who did Gordon vote for? But that's a whole other. I don't know. But when it comes to Boston and New Orleans, we all should be monitoring this, man, because I think that this is a ushering in of a new landscape, y'all. It's a new landscape where this trade deadline solidifies to me that a lot of GMs don't understand that this is a new NBA. Y'all are talking about overvaluing certain people, and I agree that there is a certain line to overvalue. But to me, commodity in the NBA has been shortened in terms of your retention. Nobody has the marriage to these players anymore. Nobody's a lifer anymore. So if you feel like you are right there for the move, yeah, maybe you do overpay because you're a mid-level team and this is your moment where damn, this guy's hurt, LeBron's hurt, and Embiid's hurt, AD's hurt, KD's hurt. Let's go for something. Let's trade for this guy. Let's overspend. And I think that some GMs should do that. And Danny
Yeah,
Ainge
look
has
at.
been a guy who's failed to do that.
Yeah, he's been overhyped. I mean, look at Pat Riley. I mean, he's a great example. You know, he won with Wade, won with LeBron, and went to the finals with fucking Jimmy Butler, bro. Everybody wants to go play there. Like people love like the things that he do, and that's a greatly ran organization.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at when you compare that to other organizations, you kind of see where they fall short. And you know, I think I ain't gonna say it yet. I'm gonna just watch and see. But to me, Jerry West is on watch. You know, I know a lot of people praise him, but you know, I still got to see what he does with the Clippers. You know, his mentorship with the Clippers. Because,
So you saying this weekend at Jerry's?
hey man, I'm just hey. Rondo was a good move. If the Rondo moves turns into a title, then salute to that brother. But you know, I don't know. I think I think he got a lot of props and praise for the Kawhi move, um, that basically turned into nothing. But you know, we'll see. But yeah, I totally agree, man. I've been highly critical of Danny Ainge for a minute. I've been complimentary of David Griffin. I thought he's done a good job, but I just like what he's done so far in New Orleans, man. And we'll see how that turns out. But it's not a good start. I mean, Stan Van Gundy of all people.
Tyronn Lue right there, and I just don't understand it. I think that the larger conversation here, while we couched it in these two cities and these two teams,
And he
is
fires.
just
Don't forget, he got rid of. Didn't he get rid of Tyronn Lue? I
Yep.
think he was still he was the
He
GM when they
dismissed
went
him.
on that
Yeah,
losing
he
streak.
did.
Dismissed him in Cleveland. Exactly. It's just one of those things, man. It's just a larger conversation about, do the GMs recognize the changing tide, man? You got to know to when to hold them and when to fold them in terms of your draft picks, your draft stash, and then sometimes you got to be very self-aware of your window. You can't just think that, you know what, we gonna sign Gordon Hayward, because I'll say this as my closing statement on Boston. I know as a Sixers fan, this might come across as pure hate, all I'm saying, but it really is out of me wanting to see Tatum and Brown actually do very well, because I'm tired of seeing them getting bounced out. Um, when you look at your window, and Danny Ainge wanted it to be perfect. he wanted it to be the pretty championship. He wanted it to be the headline blockbuster. Danny Ainge fleeces Chicago for Jimmy Butler. He trades a second round pick and he requires Danny, you know what I mean? He wanted it to be the big three all over again. If they got who for how much, you know what I mean? And that's what he wanted, the fairy tale blockbuster, you know what I'm saying? But that's not how it goes in this day and age anymore. Sometimes it is going to be the Kawhi. Sometimes it's going to be, your friends with another superstar and they just link up. It's this is what it is. It might be, you know what? I don't like where I'm at. I'm in 3 years in my contract of my 5 years. I still want to come and play with y'all. I'm gonna do it. This is where we're at now. And people and GMs need to be cognizant of that and value their draft picks and value their young talent accordingly. Because potential can get your ass fired.
Yeah, and the media is doing it already. Kendrick Perkins is already throwing out his damn phrasings, talking about he's trading used cars for Escalades and shit like that. So the mainstream media is already boosting up Danny Ainge trade moves. So I don't know whose pocket he's lining, but I think, and we've said this in regards to the NFL as well, is that we do need to start holding GMs accountable, and we need to start evaluating what they're doing because they just get by, bro, and they get by with few criticisms when they have done horrible jobs, and a lot of most of the blame goes to coaches, and it also goes to the players,
Mm.
and and the GMs are the ones that's making all of that happen. So if they're the ones that's at the top making decisions, then they need to be their names need to be called out. We need to be saying Danny Ainge and Danny Griffin and whoever's up in Houston. The GM in Houston should be fired tomorrow for
I
what
need
he
to get
did.
his name. I need to get his
You
name right
know,
now.
so because it's just terrible. You
Yeah.
traded. Uh, oh my god! It just makes absolutely no sense what they did.
Mind-boggling.
Um,
It's mind-boggling.
Raphael Stone over the last 4 months has done some of the most mind-boggling moves I've ever seen because you get all-time talent in James Harden, and like Manny said earlier, and jump in if you feel free, but it's like you get stones for gold.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like you get pebbles in return for just solid gold bricks. And it's like, and then
Mhm.
you turn around and say, well, you know what? At least we got something. That doesn't make any sense because where does your team stand at? You have John Wall coming off Achilles surgery, and you got Christian Wood, who in the first time him being featured in an offense, he can't stay healthy, and you
Mm.
have and then you have a coach who signed on to coach, James Harden as the lead um, initiator of your offense, and they're leaving him out to dry like they do our coaches all the time, and then they're gonna blame it on him, and he can't get them to win just one game. Have you seen the roster? This is the politics of the NBA, but it's sad because Houston could have avoided this.
Yeah, and look at
Yeah.
what the Knicks have made, and we'll get to the super chat and then we'll close out. But look at the front office changes the Knicks made, and last year, and look at what they've managed to do this year. So you're starting to
Mhm,
see the rewards of those moves
mhm.
from where they were to where they are. Yeah, James Dolan is still there, but he owns the team. But he replaced his front office staff and he brought in somebody else, and so far it's working out for him.
And this super chat, this one's for you, Q.
Mm.
Tigolo Kane said, "What up, Tigolo? Appreciate you. Keep that energy for the process. Six is what they won. 1-8 versus Celtics in the playoffs. Only three picks that panned out.
Right. Well, that would make sense if we both had hardware on our fingers, but we don't in the last like what 5 years.
Mhm.
So if you want to continue to harp on rings that happened when Lil Wayne was the hottest rapper in the world, be my guest. But this is 2021, and I feel like both of our GM situations were similar, with Colangelo and Danny Ainge. But we act like Markel Fultz wasn't projected to be the number one pick. You know what I mean? And what he was not heralded as being, oh, this is a guy. This is the number one. And it's only been because of revisionist history that Danny Ainge had this foresight to trade for Tatum. No, we just overplayed for a player who happened to not have it all together. So if Markel Fultz panned out, I don't believe that we'll be having this conversation in terms of Sixers not having good picks pan out. Plus, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, that seems like two pretty great picks to me. you know,
The only reason I disagree with you, Q, and the reason why I say this is I think that those picks were surefire. Like Ben Simmons, he panned out, but
Joel Embiid with his back and navicular bone injury, that was a sure
it was
thing.
Joel Embiid was a prayer, and then you had what's his name, the other center that they had before him.
We messed up with
Okafor.
Noel and Okafor, but
Not even.
yeah,
I wouldn't even talk about Okafor, him too, but the other
Nerlens. Yeah, we had
Nerlens
Nerlens
Noel.
and we had
So
Okafor.
they took a flyer on Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
His talent was always there. You
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know if he would stay healthy, but the talent was there at Kansas, so everybody knew Joel Embiid was a beast. But he panned out. I didn't like the Zaire Smith was a terrible
That was
draft.
terrible. That was terrible.
They made some horrible choices in Philly with the picks that they had. So I'm not gonna give them a pass. I think that the team letting go of JJ at the time that they did, at the time that they let JJ go, I thought was a bad move too.
Well, I think that there is a revisionist history that happens with the Sixers because we always get the process failed, the process worked. I think the process is still going, um, because it hit a lull for a long time. People act like Sam Hinkie was there the entire time. Sam Hinkie, a lot of people don't know, Sam Hinkie wanted to draft Porzingis over Okafor. That's verified. You can look it up on CSN Philly.com. Like, this is in the Inquirer. People know this stuff. But he was overruled because they management Josh Harris, who stepped out of the way recently.
Mm-hmm.
You see what's happening. But what happened at that time was they went with a household name, national champion. Let's get some butts in the seats or whatever. Terrible pick. Nerlens Noel, they bet on upside. They got Michael Carter Williams and they flipped him for nobody at the end. But Sam Hinkie was able to get guys like, in my opinion, that you see in the league now, Jeremy Grant. He drafted Jeremy Grant. Drafted, Timothy Luwalu Cabarro, who's actually contributing for the New York Nets, Brooklyn Nets. You see,
I like him.
you see Ben Simmons, who is a asset that Sam Hinkie acquired for Brian Colangelo to even able to cash in on. You have Joel Embiid. That took a gamble. People were saying, "Oh, we should take, Aaron Gordon #3. Take, this other person #3." But we stood hold and took a bet on Joel Embiid, and he's been the best player in that draft, hands down. Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker. Come on now. And then in terms of after Sam Hinkie's fired, we've had the Colangelos intervene. The NBA had installed the basketball president of USA Basketball to be our GM because they didn't want us to tank again. We were in the process of accruing more picks. It was when Brett Brown and Colangelo then drafted Zaire Smith and then traded Mikal Bridges on draft night to get a pick that they ended up signing Tobias Harris to a $180 million contract with. This is two sides to the process. And I believe that there was one side that is a Hinkie chapter, there's a Colangelo chapter, and now we're in the Morey chapter, which is hopefully being able to right this wrong. But
Yeah.
Well, I think though, while Tigolo has a valid point,
it's
we
valid for
also
sure.
we also have to look at this in terms of context. I'm gonna say that word because FIFO isn't here. Context, right? And framing, media framing, because the Sixers put out there what they were gonna do, and I didn't believe in the process. I thought it was bullshit. I fought Q and FIFO tooth and nail about on it. It's all documented. You guys can go listen to it. But I can't deny that it didn't work, right? They put out there that we were just going to lose and we're going to accumulate all these assets and, these draft picks and do this, that, and the other with it. We're going to find the right guy that's going to change the franchise, or turn the franchise around. And they did that. The difference I see between the Sixers and the Celtics is that while everybody were lambasting the Sixers, Danny Ainge were getting a lot of praise. And they took different paths to, if Tigolo want to say they've achieved the same results, you can, but one was praised for making a lot of right moves that ultimately hadn't panned out. And the other team, they were not. And I think that should that should be considered when having this discussion. Nobody was praising Colangelo or anybody like that. Q would remind me, but everybody thought Danny Ainge was this god from heaven when it comes to GM.
Yeah, because Danny Ainge was able to do a dual strategy of we can still win while having these draft picks that are going to hit, and we're going to draft all world talent like Marcus Smart and James Young and RJ Hunter and these great players. So Yabusele and Semi Ojeleye, these all world talents that the Celtics fans talk about. I agree that y'all were able to win, but I'll quote Thanos. Where did that lead you? Back to nowhere, like back to the same place as me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm in the same position as a Sixers fan with an MVP candidate who's hurt and a defensive player of the year, hopefully in top 2 running. I feel like we're at the same position and y'all are in the AFC. And that's not hate. That's just factual that we're kind of tussling back and forth between Celtics have a good season, Sixers have a great season. Sixers have a bad season, Celtics have a great season. It's just the nature of the NBA, man. But I think that we built our teams in respective ways that you kind of either got to agree with the process or you got to agree with you can win and build at the same time. I'm not saying that we've even had a better rebuild than y'all. It's just I like what we've been able to get because we were one Kawhi shot away, man. I still hold on to that. We had Brett Brown who didn't even get an interview after getting fired. And he was able to get us within a shot of going to OT. Maybe we win that game. Maybe we go in to beat Milwaukee. Maybe. And then where are we at now? But that's a whole bunch of what ifs. What if Gordon Hayward doesn't get hurt? It's a whole bunch of, we all be high, man.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we got another super chat too from Oblivion Radio. Oblivion Radio said, when will we have Spotlight Ken back? We should have had Spotlight Ken tonight. that would have been a good one tonight.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we thank you guys for
really quick. One more thing, really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it true that OKC got like 24 picks in the next?
Man, bro, they got like 80,
83
last I checked.
Picks. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
But yeah, they got like 37. Was it 37? Let me look. I got the chat open.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm about to look it up right now. The Thunder have 17 first-round picks through 2026.
Hey, let me tell y'all right now, then Shelton, I hand it to you. Because I've been jumping on Sam Presti, and FIFO been jumping back on me about some of his moves. This motherfucker has 17 goddamn first-round picks. This motherfucker better hit or it's a wrap. I am going to come in like a fucking tornado and light his ass up. I'm just saying. All these goddamn picks, hey man, now is his time to prove that he's everything FIFO say he should be.
When Kate Cunningham, Amani Bates, and Jalen Green are in OKC uniforms, y'all gonna be like, all right.
He shouldn't be able to miss, right? But
should be able to.
Stephon Kerr said OKC got a whole middle school. That is correct.
That's a fact. No, they got an AAU factory right now.
They do.
Facts.
They can have their own intramural squad.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I want to see what you do with 34 picks. And like you said, if you got 34 picks, you need to hit. You need to hit on the starting. You need to have a Fab Five in that 34 picks.
Not even a starting five. You just need to hit on that guy. The NBA is about getting that transcendent talent. You guys were talking about the Celtics and the Sixers. The Sixers got the transcendent talent in Embiid.
Yep.
End of discussion.
Yep.
Once you get that guy, it's like in the NFL when you get that Hall of Fame transcendent quarterback, man. When you get that guy, sky's the limit. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's like you're set. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if the Thunder could just hit on one, hell, two, it's a wrap. Everything else is gravy. They can use the other one.
Harden, he got Harden.
I want to start at 5.
He got Harden, KD, and Russ.
But let's say you hit. Let's just play this out. Out of those 17, man. you get another KD and Harden. Let's just put it out, and then you could use 10 of those next picks as trade capital.
I want a starting 5 from those picks, even if it's from trade.
Damn.
I want a starting 5.
Well, that's a fact though, because you know what, if you're talking about trades, yes, because it's like, all right, we identified our 2 young alphas. We signed a veteran, like you would say Bradley Beal. We traded for Bradley Beal at a certain point, and then what I mean, we got like a glue guy, like our found our Draymond, and we trade for somebody else. If you get a 5 that way, cool. But I think that we got to be realistic. You can't find damn near like just 5 alphas like
Nope.
that unless you're hitting in the top like 3 every time. And that even then it's a crapshoot, man, because you see Jabbar Parker and Andrew Wiggins went 1 and 2 in one draft. Come on.
I mean, he
Yep.
drafted he drafted 4, right? That's what I heard. He drafted what, four MVPs,
I-
3 MVPs?
Ibaka was good. I don't know if he drafted Jeff Green, but he was on that team
Yeah,
when they
draft
were.
game. Yeah, KD, Westbrook, and Harden. So, cute. Manny, you saying 2? I need at least 3, baby. Nah, I need at least 3. As a
I
matter of
need
fact,
2 and a possible. 2 and a possible.
Give me 3. That many. If the
three,
Sixers
I'll
could
say
get
3 and a possible because I
if
need a
the
bottom.
Sixers, yeah,
I
if
feel
the
that.
Sixers could get 2 in the process what they were in, 34 picks is 4 processes.
Mm-hmm.
So you should
I
be able to
agree.
get 3
I
picks.
agree.
You should be able to get
I
3 to
agree.
4 picks.
I agree.
Because I mean, there are definitely some can't misses. Q, you named like 3 of them, and
Mm-hmm.
then I guess it's up to them to figure out what the others are. So maybe 2 and a
Mm-hmm.
possible is more reasonable. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the man drafted 4 guys that have won titles. Wait, no. Wait,
3
Ibaka
MVPs.
won
How
one.
many
No, Ibaka won a title. No, Ibaka and KD won a title. It was
how
3
many picks do they
MVPs.
have this year? Do y'all know? This upcoming year.
I think they get the lottery odds in a couple of months, but I know that OKC probably I think they have like 3 or 4 this time.
If they have 3 first round picks in this draft, 2 of those players gonna be starters in this from this draft class.
It depends on where they fall, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think this first round is gonna be loaded.
It's a pretty solid draft. I know that Kuminga is gonna be one of them boys, man. He's an
Yeah,
absolute dog.
and see that's the thing. Now, when I say starters, I mean starters in the league. You got them up and down. The baby Donovan Mitchell is going to be a starter in the league.
Mm-hmm.
At Baylor, you got players that you may have never even heard of that will start in the league one day. That
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, and that's what I think that they're going to get. Those type players. I'm not saying they're going to get the next All Star, but they should get starter quality players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I
OKC
feel that.
OKC. I think they have 2 first round picks this year.
2.
Yeah, just 2 for right now.
But who's the second one from?
Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that won't be a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Well,
But this is the type of draft where if they have a lottery pick, they should whoever the lottery picks in this year's draft should be pretty good. You can't ever predict, but
Mm-hmm.
it's some pretty solid people at the top of this draft.
Yeah.
And even later in the draft, still be able to get some solid talent, some contributors on squads this year. This is a pretty good loaded class. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. One more thing before I let y'all wrap up. Were y'all surprised that Bradley Beal didn't get traded?
Nah, probably wait till the summertime and then be able to reevaluate better offers by the draft. You get more. You get, like I said, teams get froggier when it's like, all right, new talent. Let's just get off of this guy because of it's like the newness of, you can have Jalen Green and our first round pick for Bradley Beal and Bol or something. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? You rebuild that way with young core. I think they're gonna end up going that route. Russ is probably gonna get moved again, which isn't what he's at in his career now. But he's still a great player, I believe, but not as great as he once was. But we're gonna see, man. I respect what the Wizards are doing with Beal in terms of like letting him like just kind of ride this out, and he'll pick probably where he wants to go this summer.
yeah. Plus, they still trying to win 50 games this year.
Yeah.
Oh
Shout out to
man,
Nick.
what's up, Nick?
Shout out Nick one time, man.
All right. Anything else, Shelton?
No, that is all. Go Braves. Braves is about to start up, so
Cool. Well, we thank you guys for coming through once again to kick it with us as we recap the trade deadline. Appreciate you, Q and Manny, for hanging out tonight as well. and may have to do it again next week. But yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. We'll be back Tuesday, guys. More than no, it probably will be 9:15 because FIFO is still out of town, so there won't be a league recording. So yeah, so until Tuesday, we'll catch you guys then. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Good show, y'all. Good show.
Yes, sir.
For sure. I'm about to go get me some grub, bro. I'm hungry as hell, but y'all be easy, and we'll be at
All right.
next Thursday.
All right, bro.
All right, for sure. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna tap in with you, bro. We gotta get some cash up, bro. I'm like,
We do for real, man.
Yeah, like
For real.
it's really about that time.